I'm Ryan Pote. Join me this week on One Final Twist.
This week on One Final
Oh,
Twist,
I love it.
we are joined by best-selling author Ryan Pote, author of Blood and Treasure, which is available
Author.
on May 19th. Available May 19th. You'll be there. You'll get there. Um, and
Preemptively saying it.
Ghost City, the follow-up, is available on June the 30th. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Thanks you both for having me.
Yes, sir. So we'll begin. Tell us a little bit. We'll get into Ghost City, but tell us a little bit about Blood and Treasure, and then we'll talk about Ghost City.
Sure. So Blood Treasure is kind of it's an adventure thriller. It's a crossover thriller. And I kind of wrote it because I felt like there was kind of a void in what I was reading and what I really liked. I grew up reading Michael Crichton and Clive Cussler and all those kinds of other thrillers, and I felt like there wasn't really anything in the middle. So I kind of took something that was like the fun of an Indiana Jones adventure, and I matched it up with something like Jack Carr would write, and just kind of let it all like happen that way. So the book opens up with a problem on the International Space Station. The NASA's lost touch with the station. They can't control it. They don't know what's happening. When they finally get a video feed, there's an astronaut on board, a woman named Mojda Zahadi, who has murdered everybody on board, and then the station blows up. So we meet our protagonist off the coast of Mozambique. He is recovering an artifact that someone paid him to recover. He's right in the middle of it. You join him. He's already found it. And right as he finds it, he doesn't really know what's inside of it. A fiery mass comes out of the sky, almost takes out their boat, splashes into the ocean. He goes over to investigate, and he finds that it's the Soyuz space capsule. And inside, it's sunk, and inside is a lone astronaut, woman, and he doesn't know who she is, but the reader does. It's Mojda Zahadi, the astronaut who murdered everybody on board the station. And the capsule's filling up with water. He rescues her, and the two become intertwined in an adventure that spans the globe because the people that are after Ethan for what he has recovered are also after her.
Tell our people, our listeners. You mentioned Ethan. He's the protagonist or the main character. Where did Ethan come from? He is, for lack of a better term, he's a badass. You've got qualities of James Bond, and you've got, like you said, the Cussler influences, Indiana Jones, a little bit of Mission Impossible. Where did you get your idea for Ethan? Is it a person that you knew, or how did he come
Well,
about?
first off, I never really wanted to be a writer. I was just a big reader. So all those things all those people that you just listed, like I was just a big fan beforehand. So all those people were all constantly milling around in my head. I always read Clive Cussler. I was a big Dirk Pitt fan. So that, was kind of the basis for when I got into writing. That was kind of how I was already thinking about a kind of an adventure story. And um, the character himself just came from me as an exercise in therapy, writing journals about my own experiences
Mhm.
and like life or death experiences, things trying to pinpoint like what exactly was the cause of some issues that I was having. And in sharing those experiences in a group setting, I didn't really feel comfortable talking about cartel operations that I was doing and stuff like that with just a bunch of people that I didn't really know, and I was so fresh from it that I asked if I could do something else, and she was like, "No, you really need to talk about it. That's the whole point of the exercise." So she was like, "Just fictionalize the little stories that you're doing." So essentially, I started writing these little short stories where I was changing, writing them in the third person about somebody else, and then I started kind of working through my own problems, and that's kind of where Ethan Kane was first kind of like born because Ethan is horrifically burn scarred from his neck to his toes, and it kind of uh, it kind of is the foundation of his whole character and who he is and why he is the way that he is the way that he is. And he was kind of born from me and two of my friends. So one, I had a friend who died in a helicopter, or not a helicopter crash, a B-22 crash in Hawaii, and he burned to death. And I had another friend who was burned horrifically in flight school, identically to Ethan Kane. And then I was in a helicopter fire where we made it back unscathed, but it was always on my mind. It was post my other two friends, and I always just thought, how easily one of those could have been me. And so when I was writing the character, like I had these three, things in my head: my own experience, and then my two friends. And the friend that I had who was scarred, everybody, I knew how I always looked at him, saw him, and the assumptions that other people always made, and how it like changed his whole life. And he spent 4 years in body cast and stuff like that. I kind of used that all as a framework to build my character, because people treated him so uniquely, but he never really saw himself as a debilitated person. So the character of Ethan Kane was just kind of a hodgepodge of all three of those in one. And then born from my own joy of reading and in watching adventure and thrillers and stuff like that. It just kind of took on a little bit more of the charisma of maybe some of the more popular known characters. But I think that what ended up coming out was something that I think was kind of unique, and that's kind of where I knew I had a character that I think people hadn't really seen before.
Yeah.
Uniquely familiar is the right word.
Yeah.
How does your friend feel about it? That I'm sure, I mean, I assume that he's read this book. How does he feel about it?
Yeah, so ironically, like we haven't really been in touch since I started becoming a writer. So I actually don't know. He's
Oh,
retired now. He's retired now and moved on. And yeah, they got a catamaran sailboat and sold everything they owned, and they've been just sailing around the world. So I honestly have not kept in touch since I started writing. So he probably doesn't know. But I should probably reach back out to him.
Mhm.
that would be cool. I would like to know what he thinks about it, or if I'm sure he's going to pick up on it, but then I guess
Oh,
sometimes
definitely.
when you're talking about things like that, maybe it's better to just let it sleep too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he would care very much to begin with, like therapy or any of that stuff. And so it wasn't really something that I wanted to get into. And then when it started actually working from journaling, I just kind of leaned into it. And then once I found out that I had like a passion for it and I wasn't that bad at it, I thought, this is clearly something that I can try and do.
I think you've mastered the action thriller genre. Is there any
Thank you, sir.
genre that you want to get into that you haven't gotten into, or that's not action based?
Other things besides this stuff. Um, I've written sci-fi, I've written um, horror, I've written like hard sci-fi, like more speculative sci-fi. I've done this kind of adventure. I've done like the straight spy thriller. I've done like domestic crime.
Oh,
Um, I have a lot of novels. The thing is like when you finally break in, they like I wrote 5 books before I ever got published. Blood and Treasure was the fourth. And um I can safely say when you're just trying to get published, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm that good or not or whatever. And then, one of them gets published, and then you can look at all your work over time. And, I've sat down with my agent and he's read everything. And like all the books that I wrote are of the same caliber as Blood and Treasure. It's just like when you sit down, you're like, okay, well, which one is the best one to go out with at this time for you to start a series with, to debut with? And that's different. That's the most different. And so, I do that, but then once you get in with a publisher, especially as a brand new author, you don't really have a lot of leverage. So you end up getting things on your contract that restrict a lot of things that you're allowed to do. And so you end up getting like really hamstrung. But I kind of got around that one way. I wrote a sci-fi full cast audio drama that's actually a spin-off from an Easter egg in Blood and Treasure. It's a totally hard military sci-fi like story. And that might end up you know, turning into something here that I can't say anything about. But
good.
yeah,
When you're in the middle of an action scene, so like this is the kind of book that makes the reader even breathless. Like when you're like, whew, Like there's that moment when they get through it. So when you're writing them, do you just hammer it out nonstop until you're finished with that one, or do you take breaks?
I'm pretty regimented because I have a full-time job and I have kids and I don't like to I like when I found out that I wanted to do this, I had to figure out a way to make it work with my life because I knew I wasn't going to become a published author overnight. And I'm very attuned to like burnout and stuff like that. So I have to make sure it's manageable. So I write Monday through Friday. I don't write on the weekends. I don't write on holidays with the kids, stuff like that. So I wake up before work. I start a timer for 3 hours and I write and I just go. And I've done all the prep work. So I know what, you know, I have a decent outline. The story's been in my head for a while. I know what I'm about to do. I've done all the research. It's all kind of there. And so when I sit down for the scene, I kind of already know what I'm going to do, but then I just go. And yeah, I just my method is I just like freight train through the first draft as absolute fast as I can. And even if it's just a shell of a scene that I end up with, like I at least, you know, get in, get out as fast as I can. And then when I do drafts, I actually have never cut, and an editor has never cut anything from any of my books. It's always just adding. I'll end up having to flesh out something. I'll be like, oh, this is a great place to really settle into the action here, or this is a place where no, the pace actually works. I'll keep that the way it is, and I'll, you know, blow up something else. Or this is a good place to add all that technical detail, like, you know. So I do it in layers. But yeah, when it comes to an action scene, those are the scenes that I probably write the fastest. I just I those come very dialogue and action scenes just come right out. Yeah, it's usually the other stuff that's harder.
Tell us a little bit about Ghost City because I have a few questions about both of the books.
Sure.
Uh,
Well,
tell,
I
Go ahead.
so since you guys have read Blood and Treasure, I like preface with like, going into the Ghost City, I was very aware and spent a lot of time and thought into what I wanted to do with the series as a whole. You know, like there was a lot of talk with the editor about making it the Ethan Kane series, and I pushed really hard for it to be the Blood and Treasure series because I wanted it to be a little bit different. You know, like Blood and Treasure is kind of like a gang drama, if you will. There's a lot of different characters, and there's like that spy element, and there it's like this globe-trotting book, and there's a lot of humor in it, and so it would have been very easy for me to just replace the Mojda character with another spy and just make a whole new book and just do something different than the space station, and it would have been the same book basically over again. But I really didn't want to do that. What I wanted to do was kind of claim the space. If Blood and Treasure was in left field, I wanted to kind of throw a book in right field and kind of try and claim the space in between that so that the series trajectory going forward really opens up and I could show you, you know, like what it could be long term, you know, like all the different angles that it can take. So I chose with this book to be a little bit more of a serious book than more on the humor side. I chose to be a little more Ethan Kane centric than the gang drama. And then I chose to pull some characters that were maybe more in the background to the front, and then pull characters that were maybe more in the front to the background, and let you know that like all your favorite characters are maybe still there, but they're just in different, they're not always going to be, you know, the cast of, you know, whatever. And also show that, you know, nobody's safe in my books as well. And that I think that's important too, because then it just keeps the reader on their toes, keeps you on your toes, keeps establishes right off the bat that, you know, anything can happen in the book. And so I was really cognizant about all those things before ever going into it, that I really wanted to create something that was truly different, but had all the hallmarks and flavors of what I would consider a Blood and Treasure adventure.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of like my kickoff for this book, because it's definitely a little bit different. Like it opens it, but like at the same time, like one of the hallmarks of like any of a Blood and Treasure thriller is, you know, you're going to open with a very dramatic, international, mysterious scene, you know. So in Blood and Treasure, it opens up with the space station, the murder on the station, and the station blowing up. In this book, in the Ghost City, it opens in Antarctica, And the crew from McMurdo has just landed at a remote outpost in the Western Antarctic ice sheet, and Mary Bird Land, and the crew has vanished. They were swallowed up by this perfectly round hole in 2 mile thick ice, the size of a baseball stadium, that just appeared seemingly overnight. And they grab a laptop that is apparently pretty important to them, and they take back off. And when they take off, they look out over the Western Antarctic ice sheet, and they just see hundreds, if not thousands, of these holes just dotting the ice sheet. So that's kind of like how it kicks off, a little bit more of a mystery than that, but you get that kind of international dramatic moment. And then we go right to our protagonist, Ethan Kane, and this time, instead of kind of being on a treasure hunting job, he's on a job for his normal company. He's out on the river in the Mekong Delta. He's doing some river bottom topography for a gas pipeline installation. So he's doing kind of just, you get a glimpse into his company's normal work. And through another embedded thread in the novel, there are some other people who are doing some nefarious things in a sand trafficking outfit, and the entire Mekong Delta ends up diverting. So the river completely dries up, 50-foot deep, wide river completely dries up underneath Ethan and his team, and the whole river diverts, causing destruction in its wake as it goes through. But when he wakes up on the bottom of the wet riverbed, they see this 30-foot spire coming out of that was buried in the mud and silt of the Mekong River. And when they investigate this, they find something that leads them on a journey around the globe and through history and time, that will unlock secrets of the past and dangers of the future.
Okay, so I have like a million questions. I gotta go. I'm like, my brain's going, um, I feel like a lot of your locations are more obscure than you would read in some of these bigger authors, which I'm assuming is intentional. Um, like the little church, in Blood and Treasure. Like as soon as I got there, I'm Googling, what? I've never
Yeah.
heard of that. So how do you pick your places? Because they're like, I mean, where Antarctica is, but then you don't know these specific things.
Yeah, so I build, thank you for noticing that. Like everything I do is very intentional, and I always try and, like, I guess, zag when everyone else is like zigging. If everybody else is writing about these places that I've read before, I definitely don't want to write about them. So anytime I'm ever doing something in my normal life, or I already know about it, or I'm doing research and I find out about something that's just very unique and obscure that I'm interested in, I'm like, okay, that I kind of catalog it away. I'll copy and paste it and put it in a folder of just persons, places, and things that I have. And when I'm putting together a story, I have, like, for a blood and treasure thriller, there's these elements that are all there. There's a historical element, there's a modern technical element, there's, some kind of nefarious transnational criminal organization. There's all these, like, elements that lock together to make what I consider the recipe for one of these kinds of books. And they end up being pretty complex, and there's always a theme that I kind of write around. And whenever I'm doing once I find those pieces, and they lock together, it just triggers in my head something I've seen before or read before, and then I go back and I pull that in. And I just find a way to weave it into the narrative if it fits, if it works. Like, for instance, this book, The Ghost City, I had everything and I was missing one really big piece, and it was actually, like, not even, the story was just not there at all. And then I started learning about global sand trafficking, and then once I figured that out, everything just came together for the whole story. So sometimes it just takes one little piece, and then I can put everything together, and it becomes the link for all of it. And it sounds really obscure, like talking about a sand trafficking kind of thing. But that's what's so fun for me, is, like, I'm like, oh, how can I like this? Nobody's touched this before. How can I turn this into an action thriller? Or, like, I guess I won't give away too much when I'm talking, but like Roman concrete, like how can I
Yeah.
take an obscure, fun historical fact and modern mystery and then turn it into this like fun action thriller? So for me, it's kind of fun to do that too,
Hmm.
because I love all those things naturally. So,
Yeah.
um, when I can try and when I find the recipe that brings them all together, I get really excited about it.
So sand trafficking is a legitimate, or it is a real thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. All the data that's in the book about it is all real data. Same as I did with like rosewood trafficking. So I
Yeah.
knew about like timber trafficking before
Yeah.
from doing counter narcotic stuff because they're all transnational criminal organizations. They're not really drug cartels anymore. And so that stuff was all real. And um, so you know, Bob Moretti in the book is he works for Joint Interagency Task Force South, which is a real organization that I work
Mhm.
for. And so I have it's alluded in Blood and Treasure that Lana Foster, Ethan's on again, off again girlfriend, who's a reporter, um, has kind of worked with him before. And if you are a real nerd with my books and you've read the prologue to the prologue that I put on my website, you'll see that Lana Foster works with Bob Moretti all the time. So I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna have her kind of like work with him again on this book, and those two people are kind of a good vector to explore, what would be a
Yeah.
sand trafficking. Most people probably don't care about that. So I thought it might be kind of cool to delve into it. But yeah, it's real and it's it's a big money industry apparently.
Wow. The and two, you went from one extreme to the other. It's the book one or Blood and Treasure. It's warm climate. Most everything is warm, and then we go to Antarctica, where everything up there is frozen. Um,
Yeah.
and that I just thought that was really neat how he's able to adapt to wherever he's at to Ethan to do what needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that intentionally too, because I was like, okay, I did the Middle East. There was like some tropical kind of locations off the coast of Africa, and I was, I really just didn't want the second book, because like when you're first starting out in this business, and I'm a reader, so I feel the same way when a new author comes out. Like everyone's looking at that second book, like, are they gonna do something unique and fun again and take me on another adventure, or am I going to read it and be like super dissatisfied because you basically wrote the same book again?
Yeah.
And so I really just consciously did not want to do that. So I went as far away from everything that I possibly could, but really just tried to keep the flavor the same. So
We were talking before you came on. Um, this book is a bit darker than
mhm.
the first book.
Yep.
So if that was your intent, you achieved it well.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, I was trying to like claim that space. So like, I want readers going in to really not know what to expect in future books in this series in a good way. Like you're either going to have a super serious, darker book where you can explore different sides of the characters and stuff. It changes the whole tone when you
Mhm.
remove that, when you remove those like Hank and Dale one-liners and lightening the mood and stuff like that. It really does change the tone of the story.
Yeah.
And I did that intentionally. And I'm always trying to like explore, like Mark Graney is a huge inspiration of mine. He always does something different with the book. He always tries to do something new. Well, I kind of like took that uh to my own writing as well, only I do it a little bit differently. Like for me, I was a real big fan of Michael Crichton,
Yeah.
and he really tried different literary things that weren't as obvious to people. So like in Jurassic Park, for instance, there's like the seven iterations of in the novel, not the film. There's like seven iterations of chaos theory, and the book is broken into seven parts. And each iteration is the next domino effect of chaos theory throughout the whole book. And it creates this really interesting structure to the book. So like with Blood and Treasure, or excuse me, with the Ghost City, for instance, the whole book is about um, frequency and quantum entanglement and things like that. So that's the end game of the book. I'm not really giving anything away when I mention that. So there's a lot of themes built into that. That's the science of it. There's a lot of
Mhm.
other themes built into that. So through the book, like synchronicity is the big thing in the book. So I actually decided to do it in the book. Like there's another thing about music and tremors in the book. Like the in the Western Antarctic ice sheet and all throughout Antarctica, they're experiencing these tremors that are getting worse and worse and worse. And so I decided to write the book like a building tremor. So if you notice, like the book starts really slow and with deep, long chapters,
Mhm.
and then the pace as the book progresses quickens and gets snappier and punchier in not only its prose but its length. So like everything just gets compressed as it goes up, just like writing like a music,
Yeah.
like and I really liked the literary effect of that because it starts making you feel like you're in this like tremor. So then once I did that, I was like, okay, well now I want to take the theme and embed the theme into the book too. So the theme of synchronicity and quantum entanglement, I actually embedded in the novel. So every single character, place, plot, dynamic, event, everything has a mirror equal in the book somewhere else, or a mirror opposite in the book
Okay.
somewhere else. Everything is entangled to itself in the book. And literally, I spent months doing this purposely because I thought it was the most fun thing ever. But like one example, for instance, is like well, I guess I can't give away. I would give away to have this conversation. You really have to have read the book. Spoiler,
Yeah.
spoiler wise. But as you read, if once readers figure that out, once they're reading the, it's not apparent when you're first reading the book until someone tells you. And because I tested it out on everybody at Penguin, and nobody knew until it was done. But yeah, so I did a lot of fun things with the book to expand on later. And then there's more codes in the book to unlock stuff on my website and all that fun stuff.
Did you read those books as a kid, like where you can choose your own endings and stuff?
Yes. Loved I actually wrote one of those with Jack Stewart, and we're just dancing around. We're both so busy with other things. We're dancing around getting it published right now. But yeah, they're so fun. I love
Those
those.
those type the choose your own ending thing, those are becoming really popular in the horror community. I mean
Oh
the
yeah.
they're huge in horror right now.
So okay, this is kind of like a multi-part question. I kind of want to know if you're a gamer because you have got this, you are, you've got you've got this like the QR codes and find this and uncover this, and you're really doing well with the marketing stuff. Like I send authors to go and look at your stuff all of the time. Like you've got to go
Oh, thank
see
you.
this because you really have it like you're getting people and younger readers, I'm going to guess, to find your books. So I guess, yeah. Are you a gamer and do you just love this marketing part?
I wouldn't consider myself like a gamer. Like I don't have like one of those like you sit down at your computer, special chair, special rooms, or whatever. Like I grew up with video games. I had the original, Nintendo. My granddad used to, show us how to, turn into the fox and get the flag and like all that stuff. And I played all those. We had when all the first gaming systems came out, like my brother and I were of that age to just like hit them all the way through. Um, and then, I became a pilot. So, we play video games all the time,
Mhm.
in the simulators and stuff. Um, but it- and then, my wife and I play like adventure games. Like we played the Uncharted series together. We played like we were actually itching to play the new Indiana Jones game. We haven't played it yet together, but like so we do stuff like that together. We both enjoy that kind of stuff. I liked that computer game Myst when I was growing up. So yeah, I like that. There's a different kind of writing in those games too, that like the Uncharted video game series for people who aren't gamers or whatever. The writing in that game was absolutely incredible in terms of just the narrative and the characters and stuff.
Mhm.
So like I've also gotten a lot of inspiration from that. And I actually studied those games when I was learning how to write because I was like, why do I want to like I'm a grown man. Like why do I want to sit down here and play this and why am I enjoying it and why do I keep going? Like so I sat down and tried to like figure out what they were doing. But yeah, but I just think all those other things are just once again, like I looked at the like landscape coming into this as a debut author, like what's nobody else doing, and then what fits with the with the adventure kind of thing, and then what would I think is cool, and then also what I want to do because I just like writing. So like when I when I make all these things, like I'm just thinking of the reader experience all the time. So I'm like, man, it would be really cool if I was the reader and I really liked this and there was some extra stuff. And to be completely honest, we took some of our advance and we rolled it back into the business. So we were like doing this as kind of a business thing. And I assumed that when I got with a publisher, and this is nothing against Berkeley, like this is just how it is. Berkeley's been absolutely fantastic. But like when you're a new author, they're really shy about investing in you, and you're still kind of an unknown, and they're unwilling to really do anything outside the box of what they normally do marketing and publicity wise. And I totally understand that. But when I initially got in, I didn't really understand that. So I thought, oh, if I come up with all these really cool ideas and I do them myself, they will somehow enhance them and help me, blast. They'll be the megaphone for these kinds of things. And that ended up not being the case. But I almost at this point kind of feel like it's better to have it be more of like someone enjoys the book, and then that person who enjoys the book finds out about that stuff by word of mouth, and then it becomes a talking point. Like they like the book so much they can't wait to share all these cool things with other people. And then I would go to like bookstores, and you said younger readers, like I would go to bookstores like Barnes and Noble or whatever, and I'd sit there at my like little table and I had a sign with a QR code, and I would wait for usually a guy and a girl would come in together, and then the girl would go to the bathroom. This is like almost every single time. And then the guy would just kind of sit there awkwardly, and I would just be like, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" And then he would like come over, and then I'd show him the QR code thing on the book, and almost every single time someone would see that really cool thing that they'd never seen before, and they would always have the same reaction, "Holy shit," or like something like that. And then they would ask me about the book, and so then I would get a chance to pitch the book, and then yeah, like half of them would end up coming back around and buying a copy. So like I proved that it worked, because my initial thing was like, oh, this would be so cool in bookstores for bookstores to put the book face out. But it hasn't really caught on yet. But I'm sure someone who's a lot more of a popular author will pick up on it at some point, and then it'll become their idea. And but it's fun. Like I really like it. I would like to keep doing it more, because it was kind of a test, like all the little interactive game and everything was kind of a test proof of concept that you could actually integrate it with the game and make it interactive, or with the book and make it interactive. So like my whole goal would be to actually have a story that I write that has some kind of puzzle or artifact or something that, through augmented reality, the whole actual 360 book, if you were to put your phone in one of those VR headsets, the actual entire book can become another object that you can interact with on all sides. So once the coders and I like started talking about that, it just blew my mind, because now you can take someone's entire room, and the actual hardcover book becomes this interactive toy that you could tie into like an artifact in the book, and have the reader kind of solve this puzzle along with the person in the book and keep going back to it. That's what I hopefully envision doing one day, but we'll see. We'll see.
I just feel like of all of the authors that I read, you got your finger on the pulse right now, especially getting those younger readers in to do it. And I think that's going to be hard to get the like 20 to 30-year olds to pay attention to something besides their phone.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree with you, and I think that a lot of younger kids play games on their phone. They play games in general, and they're not reading as much. They're watching movies, and everyone's trying to go like book to film, book to film, book to film. I've actually been really trying to get into the gaming world, because I think that that used to be a thing. Like you used to like all the Tom Clancy's like a huge name in video games now, but like that used to be the norm. Like I mentioned the book Jurassic Park, like a whole video game series came out of Jurassic Park when I was little, and every movie had a game. I remember playing when I was really little, like on Sega, there was a Jungle Book video game, and like there was, everything that was a movie at the time had a game, and they don't do that anymore. But I think that, like phone games and things like that, more interactive, short stuff, is something that no one's really doing. So I'm interested in all that. But like I said, it's really hard at this stage of your career to kind of do anything. So I'm keeping all the ideas there and trying to let everybody know that I'm like, willing and open and able. And I'm glad readers like you guys have enjoyed some of that stuff. So it kind of gives me good feedback that I'm at least on the right track. not wasting my money entirely.
No.
I
I read
also,
a,
hold on, let me say one thing, Scott.
go
I
ahead.
really think, Ryan, that you like what you do.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I
Hmm.
absolutely love it. Yeah. I mean, absolutely love it. Yep.
I feel like it comes off of you. Like I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you're happy and that you like what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could just keep pumping out books the rest of my life, then I would be the happiest person in the world. But I have a regular day job like everyone else.
Um, so I read a book earlier. It's an action suspense, but the author included QR codes at the end of every few chapters, and it would take you to a portal where you could read additional things. And that may be, I don't know if you thought about that, that way, there's a lot of, I've read several books that have QR codes in them where you can go to like a journal or a quick video or something like that. So,
That is very cool. I found out when working at least with like the bigger publishers, like for Berkeley, for instance, they're hamstrung under the PRH like umbrella,
yeah,
so they like legally don't do a ton of stuff, and it's frustrating. Like I had this whole barcode thing in this book, The Ghost City, that was initially approved, but then later it got like shot down by legal and got pulled out or whatever. But it was
oh,
something similar to that.
oh, okay,
It wasn't that exactly, but it was something kind of close. And it kind of more interacted with my website. But then they said they couldn't do it, so I had to kind of um, bow out of that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to all that kind of stuff. Anything that makes it interactive, fun, and it's an adventure treasure hunting book. So anything where you can kind of give the reader a little treasure hunting experience, I think is
yeah,
cool. I mean, my big thing is it has to be like well done, it has to be professional looking, and it has to be quick and easy to do like
yeah,
that, you know. And then, but like for the codes and stuff, I like those to be a little bit harder because um, I think that uh, that stuff is like that's for the true believer, if you
yeah.
will.
The 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 book too has the first one, there's a religious artifact in it, and there's some religion in your book as
Mhm.
well. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I mean, that just comes from me. You know, my testimony and becoming a Christian is 100% tied to my writing journey. So that just kind of has naturally come out as I've done this. And then I in Blood and Treasure, it was kind of this thematic thing that I was trying to do, like, because I was like, okay, I want to write this. I had my elements together for it ended up being uh I for the Ark of the Covenant, right? So I
Yeah,
guess I'm not spoiling anything with that. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to tackle the Ark of the Covenant, even though I'm doing it in this different way, that's maybe a little bit more fresh, there's still the trap of everybody's seen Indiana Jones and I don't want to be a copycat person and
yeah,
everyone's going to immediately think of Raiders of the Lost Ark because that's like the most famous movie ever, especially when it comes to the Ark of the Covenant and how many copycats there's been of that. So I
yeah,
was like, well, how can I like divert myself away from that when I'm writing the Blood and Treasure? So I just thought, okay, well, I'm not going to like go into the deep there is some history in there, but I'm not going to like go deep into the history of the ark, and I'm not going to have him follow the history of the ark and all this biblical history because that's been done before, and that'll give it a totally different like Indiana Jones theme. What I tried to do was instead take like the Old Testament itself and then the Old Testament language, like I pulled like words,
mhm,
scripture out, and I just imbued it throughout the whole book, in including the characters' beliefs.
yes,
And so what I was trying to do was create like the world that you were in felt very Old Testament,
yeah,
so that it brought life to the arc in a different way than me just, you know, telling you about it in exposition like over and over again.
yeah,
Um, so then when I started doing that, it changed kind of the whole vibe of the book. Um but in reality, like I write from a biblical worldview, and anyways, so for me, it was just it just kind of naturally came out that way.
Hmm.
Um, and nobody's really the wiser to a lot of it. A lot of it is pretty subtle, I think, because I chose to put these in commercial fiction and not in like Christian fiction.
Yeah.
If this were to end up in a Christian fiction books shelf, it would be in the back of the store with one or two books spine out. And now, it's commercial fiction. It's out in the forefront, face out in a lot of bookstores. And so it just, it just puts it in a different stage. And so I just tried to do everything a little more subtly in it.
Yeah.
So, that somebody who uh, is religious or is not religious is still going to have a great experience reading the book. They're just going to get something different out of it. Um, so that's kind of the angle that I went with all of that. But then also like I did other things that people John Grisham said that someone asked him one time, "How do you sell so many books?" And he said, "I don't use four-letter words." And that was like his only answer. And so I wanted to try and make the book real, especially with the military stuff. And I've been in the military, and even though like I don't really swear like around my kids and stuff like that, I was in the Navy for 12 years, and um, but I made a conscious decision to not drop any F-bombs in the book.
Yeah.
So there's not a single F-bomb in the book. The Lord's name's not taken in vain in the book at all, and those were conscious decisions. But like readers don't know, readers have never told me like, hey, nobody says, this or that. Like
Yeah.
nobody even notices they're not in there, which is kind of different than other commercial thrillers in the same vein.
My rule of thumb is if my mom and my preacher can't read it, I'm not going to read
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah,
That
yeah. So
that's
I
kind
want
of
to
me
be
too.
proud of it. I want my kids to be able to read it and know that I didn't like sell out on my personal beliefs just to write a book and get it published. And instead, I kind of feel like it's my responsibility that I was given this opportunity to write in a commercial fiction sense. And so I am in control of every single word in the book. I get multiple attempts to change them. And so anything that I do is intentionally me, no matter if it's another character that says it or not. So I take that kind of seriously when I'm writing it because I want to be able to say that, like, yeah, I wrote that, I wrote every word of it. And, so I just thought, it's a way to kind of, not like I'm gonna change the culture or anything like that, but definitely doing my part. Because culture is pretty much downstream of popular culture, right? Like real culture is downstream
Mhm.
of popular culture. So commercial fiction is definitely in the pop culture realm. So if I can just do one or two things to at least be a little more responsible with it.
There's a scene I want to ask you about because you talk about being a naval aviator, and I just the Top Gun goes to my every time you mention or I read that you're a naval, I think of Top Gun. That's just the naval aviator.
Yeah, I
So
used to too.
there is there's a scene in Blood and Treasure involving an airplane and a mountain, and it's all it is that based on truth or is that totally your imagination?
It's a lot of both. It's a lot of both. I mean, like I've so like even in my helicopter, so I flew fixed wing planes and helicopters. So
Yeah.
Navy helicopter pilots were dual rated, so we all fly fixed wing first, but it's
Hmm.
unique to other services who fly helicopters. Um, so no, I have a lot of experience with that stuff. I know a lot of people who fly in a lot of different things. And whenever I approach the scene, I'm always like, what would I really do in real life if I was in this kind of situation? Now, of course, you want to embellish it with a little bit of fiction, make it more fun and stuff like that. But the reality is if you lost your engines in that situation, you can trade airspeed for altitude. So or
Yeah.
vice versa, trade altitude for airspeed. So, if you're in a I did mountain flying as a mountain flying instructor for helicopters, and one of the valleys are life. So, you go down into a valley and but you're going to gain speed, but you're also not going to really have anywhere to land.
Uh-huh.
So, um, yeah, so what we used to do, at least in the helicopter too, is you'd take off and you'd point straight down the mountainside and you'd be like 5 feet off the mountain and you would just fall basically because you
Yeah.
don't have enough power to climb out of this, mountain ridge when you're at 13,000 feet. So you'll just fall down the mountain as fast as you can and you'll pick up speed. You'll be in what's called ground effect, which is like this state when you're within one rotor length of, or for an H-60 helicopter, one rotor length from the ground, so about 40 feet. You'll when you're within 40 feet, it takes less power to fly. So, you can be underpowered and just pick up speed. And so you'll fall down the mountainside, pick up as much speed as you can, and then you can just pop your nose up really, really fast and you'll climb like thousands of feet. Like you'll get, so, if you're going like 150 knots and you just rack your nose up, you pull some G's a little bit, but you'll, even in a helicopter, and you'll just climb like 3,000 feet and then you'll bleed off all your airspeed and then you'll just be like a rock. Airplane is the
Yeah.
exact same situation. So I was thinking about that when I was doing it, and I was like, okay, so here's something that I've done in real life, not like landing on top of a mountain like that, but
Yeah.
like gotten over a mountaintop this way. And I'm like, I think it would just be kind of fun to maybe some readers don't know that you can do that, or maybe some
Yeah.
readers maybe it's just kind of and then I just thought the visualization of landing on an aircraft carriage, landing on those like flat top mountains. And I think I even found someone sent me this little clip on Instagram of a pilot actually doing that on a flat top mountain. And I like shared it and put the thing on there because I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Um, I just thought it was fun. Like, because at the end of the day, like it's got to be fun and it's got to be different and it's got to be wild and weird. But I always try and make it
Hmm.
plausible as possible so that when I do that like stitch of fiction, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
Or you do notice it, but you accept it because you're like, I've given you five plausible things. So that one little thing that I do, you're like, I can buy it.
So we talked to Alma Katsu earlier. I don't know if you know her or not, but she writes horror and historical fiction.
Yeah.
And her background, she was an analyst for a three initial
Yep.
agency. So she has to get some of her stuff cleared. Do you have to do that? Do you have to
I do.
have, you
Yep.
do?
Especially because so I do because I'm former military and I had clearances, but I do now because my current job, I still work for the Department of War now,
Yeah,
Department of the Navy. And I still have active clearances, so I still have to
gotcha.
submit all that stuff. Yep. But I do, like Jack gets a bunch of stuff blacked out from his book and stuff like that. I mean, it it's um I go over and out of my way to make sure, and I know that other people like Jack and everyone do the same thing, but
Yeah,
sometimes you don't control. But I go out of my way to make sure that I am not putting anything in the book that is even remotely close to methods, tactics, procedures, all the things they
gotcha.
care about.
Yeah,
So, a lot of times it might sound a little bit like what you've heard on TV, and that's just to honestly protect myself. Um, in terms of like, because the only thing that we gain. So here's the thing. We can't talk about how things actually work
yeah.
in behind the scenes military stuff. But the truth is, if we did, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense because it's so convoluted and there's so many different things and
Mhm.
then at the same time, it would be like people wouldn't believe it because they're used to what they get from
Oh,
movies. So they'd be
I,
like, "Oh, that's not how it's done." It's like, well, actually, yeah, it is how it's done,
yeah,
but nobody would really believe it. So it's almost more plausible to just do what the mass consensus believes already. And at the same time, like it's not as exciting sometimes the reality of stuff. And then it's funny because like if someone who didn't hold a clearance, right? If you learn about stuff from people who like maybe leaked some stuff or told you stuff they weren't supposed to, and you go ahead and write about it, like literally exactly what they said, you wouldn't get in trouble at all. But me, like I
oh,
am
yeah,
much more scrutinized than what I'm allowed to put down. So it's
yeah.
actually kind of funny. So you might get the flavor of what it's really like from someone like me, but you might not actually get exactly what it is.
I got you.
Um, so that's the kind of weird dichotomy of being in that position when you're writing from that like level of experience. But but yeah, like I always, everything that I write about is born from something I either did or worked with or have seen, touched, played with before, and then I just kind of fictionalize it as, into a
Mhm.
into a you know um, into something that works for the story.
Yeah,
It's all about the story. So at the end
yeah,
of the day, it doesn't really matter what you do as long as it works. And I think what a lot of people like when people say like, oh, because Taylor Moore's a friend of mine. He was a CIA analyst as well, and like, um, you know, I think if you write military characters that are in those, if you write the dialogue for the characters in ways that they say what they would actually say in real life and people can feel it, I feel like that's where people say like, oh, he's writing authentically because I think you can
yeah.
just kind of tell that like, oh, that is what the person like that would say.
Hmm.
You just kind of inherently know it. So I think that lends more to the authenticity than the actual like tech a lot of the times. It's
Yeah.
just what the characters say and how they act. Sorry, that was a long-winded way to say that.
No, 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 you're just fine. That's what we're here for. I got some fun questions, but one more about the books, and you may not can comment on them. Is there any inkling from Hollywood? Like, are there any options out there? If you can't talk about it, we understand because we've
No,
had a
no,
lot that
I
said they
can totally
can't
talk
talk
about it.
about it.
We've had a lot of back and forth. So here's what I can say. So we had a lot of people approaching us about Blood and Treasure. A lot of big people have been reading it. Um, so these people passed, but like, we had, gosh, what's his name? Who's the guy from Twisters?
Oh, Jan de Bont?
No, no, the male lead in the movie Twisters, the
Oh,
remake of
the sequel,
Twisters.
the
Glenn Powell, that one.
Glen
Yeah,
Powell.
So like Glenn Powell read with interest in the Ethan Kane character, and then he passed. We had the Mojda Zahadi character was had interest from I'm horrible with people's names. Who's Wonder Woman?
Oh,
Yeah.
Gil Gadot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But they passed as well. And like, the problem is like, I wrote about Iran, Israel, and the United States. So ever since this book has come out, everybody who's in publishing and in Hollywood is very like scared to touch anything that's dealing with something. It's funny because when I
Yeah,
wrote it, nobody was at war and um, there's just been conflict forever. And I was like,
yeah,
so I wasn't like predicting anything. And now that they are, it's like, oh, we don't want to touch it. Um, but we turned down an option from somebody that wasn't quite right. Right now, we have a screenwriter for it who's become a great friend of mine
oh, good.
who's attached. I don't think he'll mind me saying his name's Tom Donnelly. He wrote he wrote the screenplay for Sahara, um,
Okay.
and a bunch of other stuff too. He's really awesome. He loves the book, loves the series, and so he's on board right now. And we're about to go back out with it to some other bigger people that are interested. So there's definitely some interest.
Yeah,
We have a great team at William Morris Endeavor who loves the series and wants to find it a home. So there's also a prequel called Project Balboa. That's a screenplay that I wrote that is out. It does not have Ethan Kane in it by name. He's in it only as like a side character. It's more
yeah,
focused on some other people. Bob Moretti's in it. Um, it's just a screenplay, and it has Ray Mendoza attached to direct it right now, and it's bouncing around as well. So there's a lot of stuff like out there, but it's just it's honestly, it's like a roll of the dice. Like I don't really like
yeah.
worry about that too much. Like if it happens, it happens. That's great for everything. Like the series will probably take off if it happens. But if it doesn't, like whatever, I'm still
Yeah,
gonna enjoy writing the
yeah.
third Ethan Kane book no matter what.
And if anything that we've learned from authors that if you think publishing is slow, try getting a movie made. That they say that's the ultimate slowdown is getting a movie made.
Yep.
So, a few fun questions. What is your guilty pleasure that you like to read that you would be embarrassed for somebody to walk in and say, "Oh, you read that?"
Embarrassed for somebody to know that I read.
Like a romance or
I definitely don't read romance. Sorry. There's nothing that I read that I'd be embarrassed for anybody to know. I mean, I read what I like. Um, I I would be embarrassed to say what I don't read.
Oh,
So a lot of people have like said that I'm like Cussler meets Clancy. I have read a little bit of The Hunt for Red October, and I say a little bit of it.
yeah,
Um, and I've never read another Clancy book.
yeah,
So people are always like comparing me to that and stuff, but I don't read them. I never, you know, quite enjoyed those books very much. I liked the movies and stuff, but
yeah,
the books weren't for me. So yeah, I don't read that, and I always take a lot of flack for that because
yeah,
everybody in the genre is like, grew up on Clancy, and I just
yeah.
didn't.
Okay, you're on a deserted island. You can take one book and one album. What are you taking?
Um, the album is Our Lady Peace
Mm,
Innocent album.
yeah,
I don't know why. I've just always been able to listen to that whole thing from start to finish, even though I'm actually really like I really like 70s music. I like reggae. I like all kinds of
yeah.
music, but probably that album. And then for a book, I mean, I would I this is gonna sound super nerdy. I mean, I would take the Bible, but that's not what you want to hear because this is like
No, no, that's
for
totally
fiction readers.
that's totally
So like
fine.
I would for a fiction book, I would take um probably ooh, it's tough. I'd probably take Valhalla Rising, Clive Cussler's Valhalla Rising.
Hmm.
I don't know why, but I like that book a lot.
All right. What's next for you?
So I wish I could say, I was just told not to say anything about it.
Oh, no,
But I
that's fine.
can say here, no, I'll say something else, and you guys can all just figure it out. So I am still writing my series. Um, I am writing a ton of other things on the side that are, in various stages of coming forward. But I did sign on as a co-author for a major estate, and I'm just not allowed at this moment to say who it is or what series it's for. But I am writing a book for a very established state. Um,
I'm just
If
gonna let you know I'm gonna send you a message right now and take my guess.
you
uh,
guys can guess as long as I don't say it, right? I mean, that's what NDA, like, as long as I don't say it, I'm not breaking an NDA.
yeah. If people want to reach you on social media, what are your handles and what platforms are you on?
I'm on all of the major ones at Ryan Pote Books. Same thing
Okay.
for all of them. And then my website is ryanpote.com. I try and, keep up with my website as much as I possibly can,
Yeah.
change it, adapt it and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Your website also mentions that you like to interact with book clubs. Uh,
yes, several
can
times now.
you do like to do tell
Yep.
how do
Yeah,
they
so I've
get in
been
contact? I'm sorry. How do they get in contact with you to arrange a book club meeting?
sure. So they can, like I post that on my website. You can go to the contact me page on the website. You can write it in there. But honestly, any way you can get in touch with me, I don't really. I mostly respond on Instagram direct message because it's too much to do all of them. So
Yeah.
you could Instagram direct message me, or you can reach out through my website. But I do book clubs. I've done a bunch of them virtually. They're a
Mhm.
lot of fun because I get to answer all the deeper questions about
Yeah.
like this with the spoilers and really get into all the other stuff. I've done one where we actually did the book club like discussion guide that I have on I have one for each book now, which has like lots of deeper questions about the book and like a little scripture treasure hunt that's through the book and stuff. So I've done those with people, and then I've physically gone to some that
Okay.
were close enough. So I
That's
physically
cool.
gone to ones, and it was actually wild. Like this one group rented out an air museum. And so I showed up and there's like 20 people and they had it like catered and they had this whole thing. And then
Oh
people
wow.
grilled me. It was super funny because like a couple of them did not like the book at all because that's what you get with the book club. But they were not shy about telling me in front of her. So it was kind of cool to be there to like hear, two sides of the same coin. Um,
Um, are you going to be doing a book tour with Ghost City?
uh, so no, they don't really like. pay to do any book tours. So anything that I do is kind of out of my own pocket. I did a
Okay.
lot of that stuff last year. I mainly just try and do anything like these. Like I'll go on any podcast that you can. I think I am going I think I'm doing one. I live in Maryland now, Southern Maryland. I think
Okay.
I'm doing one in Maryland, DC area just because it's drivable, like around pub time. And then I think I'm also going to the Poison Pen with Barbara Peters um, at some point right around pub time.
Okay.
Those are the only two I really have on the schedule. But I know that Barbara Peters is going to go working out the details right now. She's the only place you'll be able to get signed copies of the Ghost City is through her at the Poison Pen. And then she's also going to be, we're working out the details now, but she's going to be setting up like a pre-order sweepstakes. There's going to be lots of cool prizes, some ancient treasure that I have that tie into the book, some actual ancient artifacts that tie into the book, all a whole bunch of a Garmin watch and some like the same one that Ethan Kane uses and the slide belt, same one that he uses. There's going to be like this whole big prize pack through the Poison Pen. So
Wow.
keep an eye out for that coming next month or
Awesome.
so.
So Poison Pen, is that the one that's in Arizona?
It is. Yep.
Okay. Okay.